President Roosevelt said in a statement today that the Japanese have attacked the Pearl Harbor, Hawaii, from the air.
On Sunday, December 7th, 1941, a state of war has existed between the United States and the Japanese Empire.
We must never cease to proclaim in fearless tones the great principles of freedom and the rights of man.
Heute Entmusterung halten und abstoßen, was sich als schlecht erwiesen hat, und es
In January of 1933, Hitler was elected the Chancellor of Germany, and things drastically changed for us.
First time in an airplane, I had never flown in an airplane to that time. And they put me in an open cockpit back in the back with the .50 caliber machine gun.
And Jewish, there's an expression as to how we flew the airplanes. They described that I had to be abyssal meshuggah.
And down south, Alabama, Georgia, North Carolina, all foreign country to Jews in New York.
And you saw signs of Jews not welcome.
I said, "Where are the Jews?" He says, "You."
My roommate persisted in calling me, "Hey, Jew boy."
Stories from the war that you are bringing out of me, I have not thought of in 70 years.
What happened in World War II was that American Jews in entering military service came to recognize that their Jewishness was within them, and that for many of them, that Jewishness had been part of family, it had been part of community, it had been part of friends, and they didn't particularly think of it as something inside them. But in military service, everybody wore the same uniform, and yet inside, the experiences were sometimes different. And that's where Jewishness came to be lodged for American Jews. And it was a powerful experience because it meant that wherever they went, they took their Jewishness with them.
So he spoke to us and he says, "Gentlemen, we're going to war."
First day, there's a new pilot comes, and my pilot was a co-pilot. And I checked the plane, but I mean, I did just what I always did. But I went to the crew chief, and I said, "Chief, where is the flight engineer?" He said, "Aren't you a flight engineer?" I said, "Yeah." I said, "But I'm supposed to be the assistant flight engineer, not the flight engineer." He said, "I got news for you. You're it." My name is Jerome Levin. When I went into the service, everybody started calling me Jerry, and I just stuck. I liked it. It was short, and you didn't have to say Jerome, you know. I was born in Gastonia, North Carolina. My mother was one of 6 girls. They were all born and raised there. We had moved to Charlotte, but she went home to have the baby. When I was about 6 months old or less, they moved back to Charlotte permanently. And of course, I've always been here, and I went through the public schools here and was raised right in Charlotte. There was anti-Semitism in school, but I never really, they all knew I was Jewish because I showed it. I mean, we stayed out the holidays. We observed all the holidays, as a matter of fact. So they knew I was Jewish because that's what we did. Well, you know, the war came on December 7th, 1941. I happened to be in Charleston at the time. I was in high school. I finished high school here in 1942 and decided I wanted to go to Citadel as a military school. There was actually a Jewish brigade that instead of going to church on Sunday morning, this brigade was all Jews, and we used to go to the synagogue. But that was the orders that we had to go to a place for religion on that Sunday morning. So we used to form up and go on a bus, and they'd take us to synagogue, and they would teach, you know, the Parsha for the week and stuff like that. Tell us history.